Well, hello ladies and gentlemen. I'm finally making this long awaited video regarding competitive exams seen through in astrology and how to really assess the easiest way possible if you will kind of conquer your goal of being at the top of the competitive exams. Being at a point where you can do something with that. With that exam. Now, I'm not familiar, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not familiar with these competitive exam stuff. I only heard this vocabulary through you guys in India that, hey, competitive exams, can I sit in this competitive exam? And I've never heard that term till now. Because apparently I do see that it's a big thing in India. If you sit in an IAS exam and civil service exam, civil service engineering exam, that exam, and these are the only ones that I really do know of, like IAS and civil service exam, where here people give exams every day and even the lowest person is able to get a job. So today what I'm going to talk about is what are the combinations through timing that you want to see where you should be sitting in an exam. This is not really about if you are able to conquer higher education in your life, get a PhD, master's. I've already made a video on that. The educational part of it. This is simply about if you were to sit in some sort of an exam, will you accomplish the goal of being at the top of the list? You may not be number one. This is not about you being number one. You might be number 5, number 6, top 10. Okay. And the concept that I'm going to use are the concepts that I have learned through the teachings of Kapiel Raaj, through his book, Juan Paul Manley, Jyotish, all these people who I've come across, and then I've implied their knowledge into my own scenario, and it works beautifully, because these guys are like the masters. And the concepts that I'm going to be using, especially through Juan Paul Manley, and actually it was Juan Paul Manley who kind of introduced me to these axes, before anybody else. So I gotta really thank him for teaching this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a chart, and I'm going to show you exactly how through Gemini and Parashtra astrology this concept works. And then please, if you're new to this video, do not worry. All you have to do is just watch my lessons of Gemini astrology. I made 5 lessons. Just type in JAIMINI astrology lesson and you will see on my YouTube channel or YouTube page itself my 5 lessons that I've made of what is Gemini astrology, what are karakas, what is charadhasha, how are the aspects seen in Gemini astrology, what are stira karakas, all of these things I have, and the Raj yogas and the Dhan yogas in Gemini astrology, because really it so simplifies itself through Gemini astrology more than even Parashtra astrology. Okay, so I'm assuming that you know a basic concept of astrology here, like you know how to read your signs, where your planets are placed, what are houses in astrology, what house you have. Hopefully you know this, and if you do not know, that's okay, because you can go to this link here and get your full astrological report where you will see exactly where your planets are, what sign it's in, what conjunction it's having, which house is placed in, especially with the option 6 on my website with all my books there, astrology, conjunction, and aspects at the speed of light. So these books and this material will really show you exactly what I'm talking about. It'll be a walk and park for you. So when we are looking in competitive exams for educational purposes, we do not want to look at the axis of 1st and 5th house or the 9th house. We don't want to look at the 5th and 9th house axis as much. The axis that you want to look for, especially with the timing of competitive exams, is the 1st and 10th axis from anywhere, and 1st and 6th axis from anywhere. Because remember, 6th house is a house of competition, going to war. How you deal with your enemies, how you deal with obstacles that are in front of you. So an exam is an obstacle that you have to overcome, right? An exam is given to you by somebody who really feels that you may not be qualified for this. They become your enemy. So you want to overlap that and accomplish that goal. That is seen through the strength of the 6th house. How is your 6th house? And especially in Gemini astrology, it's not so much about the degrees in Gemini astrology. It's really about the basics of exaltation, debilitation, multrikon, and your own sign. So if a planet through Gemini concepts are sitting in exaltation, multrikon, in its own sign, in its multrikon sign, or in a friendly sign, that becomes a positive axis. If it's debilitated or an enemy sign, becomes a negative aspect. And that's all you have to remember. Okay? So 1st and 6th axis from any house. And the reason why I'm saying any house, because we have to use Chara dashas and Vimshotri Mahadashas to find out exactly if the timing when you're sitting for your exam is helping you or not. Okay? And then the next axis that becomes good is 1st and 10th axis from anywhere. Any Mahadasha that you're going through, whether it's your Rahu in Taurus or Ketu in Pisces Mahadasha. If you're sitting in an exam, you want to make sure your axis is 1st and 10th and 1st and 6th. There are many other axes. I'm telling you, the most strongest one that I've seen where people have accomplished their goals of passing the civil service exam. Okay, so I'm going to show you a chart here, and this is a Virgo chart. Okay, and here in this Virgo chart, you see Mercury, Saturn, Sun, and Jupiter in the 1st house in the Virgo. Okay, and then you have Moon, Venus in the 2nd house in Libra, Ketu in the 3rd house in Scorpio, Rahu in the 9th house in Taurus, and Mars in the 11th house in Cancer. Okay, so if you know about Chara Dasha, you know Chara Dasha is a sign-based time period. You go through Virgo Chara Dasha, you go through Libra Chara Dasha, you go through Scorpio Chara Dasha. So Chara Dashas are sign-based Chara Dashas. And Vimshotri Dashas are planetary-based time periods that you have to go through. Like you're going through Rahu Mahadasha, you're going through Jupiter Mahadasha, you're going through Mars Mahadasha. Now, what happens is when you want to know, is this a good time period or when is a good time period for me to sit in exam? Despite the fact if you are meant to be in that field, that's not what we're talking about here. We don't care about if you want to be a PhD or you cannot be a PhD or you cannot be a engineer and pass it. No, we just want to see what is the right time for you to sit in. So let's say in this chart, if this person is going through the Chara Dasha of Virgo, okay? So they're going through the Chara Dasha of Virgo. What is the best time in Chara Dasha of Virgo for this person to sit in exam for? Well, the two most prominent Dasha and Antra Dasha in the Chara Dasha concept would be if this person goes through Virgo Chara Dasha and Virgo Gemini Chara Dasha. Because of the fact in Virgo Chara Dasha he has exalted Mercury with Jupiter, who's the blessings in a horoscope. Then Mercury is sitting with the discipline and organizer Saturn. So Saturn gives the discipline for Mercury to accomplish its goals. Jupiter gives its positive blessings to accomplish a goal. Sun gives him the confidence to accomplish a goal. So if this is your chart and you want to sit in a competitive exam, look for the axis of 1st and 10th. Because 10th is reputation. What is your reputation in society? So let's say this month you want to sit in an exam. Everybody knows you're taking an exam. What does this become? This is now your reputation is on the line. If you're going to pass it, everybody will praise you. If you don't pass it, everybody will still praise you in front of you. Say, oh, you did good. That's okay. You'll do it next time. But in the back, they'll be like, oh man, this guy sucks. He's horrible. He's a loser. Am I making you feel better about yourself? Okay, if I'm not, I'm sorry. Don't cry, man. So 1st and 10th axis is good. Why? In this case particularly, 1st and 10th is good. Because 10th house is also ruled by Mercury. So the 10th lord, whose Chara Dasha you could be going through, which is Venus, Virgo and Gemini. So Virgo time period and Gemini time period are good time period because both the 1st and 10th lord are exalted. So this time period, when you sit down and give an exam, that becomes a good time period for you to give an exam. What is another one that's a good, just for this particular chart? What would be a good time period for them to sit in? That would be Sagittarius Chara Dasha and Virgo Antra Chara Dasha. Why? That's your fourth house. Well, look at it from the Sagittarius point of view. If you tilt this chart from Sagittarius point of view, all the planets, Mercury, Saturn, Sun, Jupiter, come 10th from Sagittarius. So if you are now deciding this year that, oh, you know what, I want to sit for IAS exam. And if you're going through this similar pattern where your Sagittarius, ascendant lord of the Sagittarius, is sitting in the 10th house now, Jupiter, of reputation with the exalted Mercury, Jupiter is getting an uplift from Mercury. Saturn is showing that one is ready to work towards their status. So it shows that you will be working day and night. You'll be learning your answers and questions, and you want to accomplish that goal by being disciplined. You don't want to play. You don't want to go out and watch the next Salman Khan movie. You're sitting in your room and you're studying. That's what this axis shows. So 1st and 10th, 4th and 1st axis, because it's 10th from the 4th house, all the planets that are sitting. Another good axis could be here is 7th and 1st. If you're going through the Charadasha of Pisces and then the Virgo Charadasha comes, where Jupiter, Sun, Mercury, Saturn are sitting, this can also be positive because now you're being exposed to other people in this time period. And you're going to be getting appreciation by the masses. So even though this is not the strongest of the axis, but it still helps because the 7th lord is sitting with the exalted Mercury. Now, let's look at another chart. Let's look at the chart where now you have Saturn in the 6th house. Saturn's in the 6th house. So now if this person goes through the Virgo Charadasha and Aquarius Charadasha, how will they do in competition? Well, they will absolutely do good. Why? Because Saturn is in its own mole trikon sign of Aquarius in the 6th house. Meaning Saturn, wherever he sits, he subdues those houses. And in the 6th house is actually one of the most powerful positions for Saturn. Why? Because Saturn looks at all the negative houses. From the 6th house, he looks at the 8th house, prolongs your life, a healthy life. Looks at the 12th house, lowers your expenses. You're kind of a frugal guy. And aspects the 3rd house, where he gives you fruits of the tree. You reap the results of your labor, your self-efforts. So Saturn here becomes strong. So in the 1st and 6th axis, if you're sitting to give an exam, well, remember the 6th house, competition, facing enemies and being victorious. Here you are sitting in the exam, the battlefield. And in that time period, if you give your exam and you have studied for it, you've worked for it, this Saturn will help you. So these are the top 3 axes that you will always want to look for from any sign. I don't care you're going through the 5th house Charadasha. Look and see what planet is in the 10th house. Now, let's look at one more where it may not be such a good idea to look for the axis. Let's look at the original chart. Let's say you're going through your moon, Libra Charadasha. From Libra, guess who's the 10th house from Libra? It's the sign of Cancer. Okay? But guess who's sitting in the 10th house in the sign of Cancer? It's Mars. And Mars is debilitated, which means that the test or you going into the battle, your reputation it'll frustrate you. Mars, even though it's debilitated, it's very good if you're going for business. Here, Mars would want to annihilate all the competition. You'll do good. But examination becomes a thing related to knowledge. Here, Mars will frustrate a person's mind. The day you're giving the test, and if you're going through Charadasha of Libra and Antra Charadasha of Cancer, this particular time period will frustrate you a lot. You'll feel this power struggles with you and the people that you meet outside. And this is going to disturb your reputation. So this is not the best time period for you to give your exam. Now, we want to see the 3rd concept, the final concept where exactly you should be sitting. So okay, so fine, you're going through your Charadasha of Virgo and Gemini. And remember, you can do this with Vimshotri Mahadashas too. I've made up videos on Mahadashas. Try to understand that if you're new to my channel and try to get a grasp of it, because this is very easy, like just walk in a park. If you're going through Saturn Mahadasha, what Antradasha of Saturn do you want to give that exam in? Well, that would probably be the Antradasha of Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini. especially Sagittarius and Gemini. Sagittarius and Gemini, Jupiter and Mercury. So you're going through Saturn Mahadasha, and you want to go through the Antradasha of Jupiter and Antradasha of Mercury to give the exam. Either one, whichever one fits the timing first. Because of the fact these planets are creating a powerful Raj Yoga. And also you have exalted Mercury again. So apply the same concept. But remember the Gemini astrology Raj Yoga's concept, where your Atmakarka plus the Amatyakarka equals Raj Yoga. Atmakarka and the Putrakarka equals Raj Yoga. Atmakarka and the fifth lord, Amatyakarka and the fifth lord creates Raj Yoga. All these Raj Yogas, you want to see the combination too. Is this creating a combination for me or no in this time period? If it is, this will be a good time. But the final thing you want to understand when you're trying to assess this is the transit of Jupiter. You always want to look for transit of Jupiter. Why Jupiter? Because first of all, Jupiter is divine knowledge. It's your true intelligence. And Jupiter is like Amrit. It's like the holy water upon the chart. You want to sit in an exam where Jupiter is either sitting in the Trikona houses, where it is looking at the Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn. It is blessing the Charadhasha Lord. So you want to look in this particular chart, the Virgo chart, Jupiter should be transiting first of all the trinal houses, where it can look towards the Charadhasha house that you're going through. Okay, so you know your entire Charadhasha is getting the support of Jupiter. Second positionary that things you want to look for is Jupiter in the Artha houses, 2nd, 6th, and 10th house. Why? Because in 2nd, 6th, or the 10th house, Jupiter will always influence the 10th house of your reputation, of how your image is into the world. And from Artha houses, Jupiter will look at your house, 6th house, of enemies and competition. And because he's transiting in these houses, if you sit for an exam, despite wherever your other planets are placed, you sitting in an exam in this time period will allow you to get that blessing of Jupiter. So what you want to do, remember, like astrology is like a clock. You have the minute, the hour, and the second. That all has to be aligned in order for you to get what you want. And all astrology does is makes you see it. Oh, right now it's 12 o'clock. So I need to give my test at 6 o'clock. That's all it is. So you're looking at Mahadasha, Antradasha, transit. These are the kind of things you want to look for. So whenever you look for the best time period to sit for your exam, especially with Gemini astrology, it's just basic. You don't need to know anything about, all the nitty-gritty of astrology. Just rely on these basic things if you're new to astrology. Is that see where your Charadhasha is, what Charadhasha you're going through, what Mahadasha you're going through, and what axis you're currently running in. Are you running in the 8th axis, like from the actual Maha or Charadhasha time period? If you're running that and you have a debilitated planet sitting in the 8th from your Mahadasha or Charadhasha, not a good time to give a exam, because it's going to give you sudden ups and downs. It's like you're gambling. You want to look, hey, am I in the 1st and 6th axis? Am I in the 1st and 10th axis? Because I am simply not worrying about my higher education, my colleagues or children, which is the 5th and 9th house. If you're going through it and you have a positive planets there, okay, fine. But mainly what examination is competition. Are you ready to beat the competition? That's all it is. Even if I'm sitting at the IAS exam and I haven't done anything in my life previously regarding studies, yet I study enough and I give my test in this exam, I will probably do far better than I would have done if I didn't sit in this time period. Because you want to look at the 6th and 10th axis is the most important. Here's the thing, you will find people winning their competition and exams in any single time period. Yet those single time periods will provide either Raj Yoga, will provide an exalted planet with good dignity in its Mahadasha, Antradasha. But what I'm showing you, what this video is simply about, is the easiest way to look at it. I can make this a 4-hour long video and give you like literally 100 combination for when to succeed in exam. But it's just not feasible. All you have to do is just look at the simple concept, and if you run through this time period, that's it. That's all you have to do. This is the competitive exams 101. But there's 102, there's 105, there's 108, where you go all the way to the point of the Ashtavarga, the Shadbala. You want to see how well is the transiting Jupiter doing from the actual house. All that becomes then complicated. All that is something that can discourage you from wanting to even look for these things. Because if you just got the hour, the minute, and the second right, if you know exactly what time you are looking at, you can see, okay, I want to give my exam at 5 o'clock. That's it. What the other part does is simply, now you're going into nanoseconds, you're going into the nanoseconds, you're seeing the mechanical, who made the clock, you're looking into the manufacturer of the clock. That's something you don't do at this point. At this point, I'm just telling you the easiest way to do it. Okay? So guys, this is my analysis of competitive exams in Vedic astrology with the easiest combination possible, although there are many combinations. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your planetary placements are, what Mahadasha, Charadasha you're going through, what axis you're going through, if you're about to sit an exam for that, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including all my books and consultations and everything. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.